Hello, Creative Gems. Welcome back to Creativity. I'm Sandy, and today we'll be making two different styles of candle holders to dress up your bookshelves, console tables, and bedside. The first one will be made using an empty Ferrero Rocher chocolate box that I already polished off from the holidays. Because this box is made of a clear recyclable plastic, it will be perfect to transform it into a lantern-style candle holder. The first thing that we'll want to do is remove all the stickers from the box cover. And unlike some of the other larger Ferrero Rocher boxes I have crafted with, this box is adorned with actual sticker labels that can be removed without any special tools. Just use your fingers to remove the label. In fact, both labels can be removed easily with your fingers, even the larger one in the center. I'm not sure why this label is different because for the larger boxes that I have crafted with, the large label in the middle is usually a very thin foil-like seal that can't be removed easily the way I'm doing it here. But if you want to know how those other labels are removed, I have a very easy hack for that on my channel. I'll leave a link to that video down in the description box. Okay, so we finally have all the labels removed. The larger label in the center was more difficult to remove and it did leave some sticky film on the lid. But that actually won't matter because the sticky film will actually help with our next step. In fact, we need the entire outside of the lid to be tacky, and for that I have some Mod Podge that will help. Here I'm using a small foam brush to apply the Mod Podge to the top lid as well as the bottom lid. In fact, you'll notice they both already have a coat of Mod Podge because I already applied a watered down Mod Podge mixture, but I need to go over them again because adding the water actually made the Mod Podge less tacky, which I didn't realize. So now I'm going over the lids again with a second coat of Mod Podge, and this time the Mod Podge I'm brushing on is coming straight out from the bottle and it's not watered down. Now with both lids done, I want to show you this beautiful placemat that we're going to use to adorn the lids with. This is actually a disposable placemat I found online and it comes in a set of 12. One side is metallic gold and the other side is metallic silver. The placemats are very thin. In fact, it's almost like working with silver or gold leaf, except the placemats have a mesh design. And because they're so thin, they're also very easy to cut to size. So here I'm just cutting one placemat slightly larger than the size of one of the lids, and then I'll use that as a template to cut a second piece for the bottom lid. And by the way, if you like these placemats and want to use them for your own craft projects, I'll leave a link to it down below in the description box. You'll find it is included in my list of favorite bling embellishments for crafting as well. Next, I'm going to place a piece onto one of the lids and then start to trim it. We want to make sure the entire lid on the outside is covered with this metallic placemat, so you'll want to trim and shape the placemat to the lid accordingly. And while we work on this, I would like to take a moment to thank you for tuning in to today's craft project. If you enjoy Glam home decor and DIY crafts on a budget, please let me know by hitting that subscribe button. And if you like what you see today, please give me a thumbs up as well so the YouTube gods will continue to recommend my channel to other viewers like you. For the edges of the lid, it's actually going to be difficult for the placemat to stay in place even with a Mod Podge, so I'm going to help it out a bit by inserting a few clamps to help hold down the placemat to the sides of the lid. Then we'll leave the lid for a half hour or so for the Mod Podge to cure. I'll also add a bit more Mod Podge where it has already dried out. And by the way, even though the Mod Podge goes on white, it will actually dry clear as long as you don't layer on too many coats. And if you're still with me, drop me a comment with the words Mod Podge and let me know if you like to craft with Mod Podge. And one little tip is that the Dollar Tree actually sells them in small bottles, but if you're like me, it may be more cost effective to get the larger bottles available at Michael's instead. So while we wait on the first lid to set, we'll want to work on the second lid. But I spent so much time on the first lid that the Mod Podge started to dry out on the second lid and it's no longer tacky. So we're going to have to go back in with another coat. In retrospect, I really should have prepped the lid one at a time so as not to waste time and use up more Mod Podge than necessary. But you live and learn, right? So while we work on the second lid, I would love to know if any of you have ever crafted with Ferrero Rocher boxes before. And if you have, let me know what you have made with these chocolate boxes. For me, I have made several vanity trays and jewelry boxes, and if you would like to check out those crafts, I have a playlist of my Ferrero Rocher crafts on my channel. I'll leave a link to that playlist down in the description box. While we wait for both lids to dry and set, we're going to work with these wooden dowels. These dowels are 12 inches long. I think I found these at a sell-off, but you may also be able to find them at your local craft store or dollar store. These are about zero point 0.4 inches in diameter, so they're not flimsy at all and will be perfect as poles for our lantern. These wooden dowels are in a natural light wood color, but since our lantern is going to be more on the glam side, we're going to want to cover these dowels. Now, you can opt to paint them white or maybe metallic silver or metallic gold, but for mine, I've been trying to think of an excuse to break open this large roll of washi tape. I have actually been saving this washi tape for a special craft because it has a mirror reflective finish, which if you're familiar with my crafts, is my absolute favorite. In fact, I love to craft with anything silver and anything with a mirror-like finish. This roll of washi tape is pretty wide, and as you can see, it's actually perfect to cover our wooden dowels with. You can see I have eyeballed the length we need, and it's pretty easy to roll the wooden dowel onto the tape, and then just check the ends and see if you need to trim any excess. We'll do these steps until we have all four dowels covered. If you're still with me, comment down below with the words washi tape and let me know if you have ever crafted with washi tape before. If you have, let me know where you find your washi tapes. I have looked all over the Dollar Tree and have never seen any there. I have seen masking tape that's the same size as the roll I'm using currently for this craft, but they never have any with mirror reflective finish. Now, with all four wooden dowels done, it's time to position them onto one of the lids we just embellished. And I'll be honest with you, this was actually the most challenging part of making this candle holder lantern. To get the dowels to adhere to the lids, I'm using a combination of Fix-All and hot glue. But the issue is that the dowels are only zero point 0.4 inches in diameter, so there's really not enough surface area to apply both glues. You'll see that I will be struggling to get the dowels to stay standing upright because it takes time for the fix-all to start curing. So you'll see that some of the dowels are going to be toppling over, and I actually had to go back in and re-glue pretty much all of them. Now, you may be wondering, why not just stick with hot glue then? Well, hot glue is great to use on some materials, but they don't offer a secure, long-lasting hold like Fix-All does. I wanted to make sure that once this lantern is done, that it will stay sturdy and stable, and Fix-All is much, much more of a strong adhesive than hot glue. So after struggling with affixing the dowels to the bottom lid, I ended up removing the dowels, cleaning them all off of any glue, and applied only Fix-All to the tips of each dowel. Then I stood them upright onto the bottom lid and held each in place for several minutes until the Fix-All started to cure a bit. Then I placed the top lid on top of the dowels, making sure each dowel was standing upright at a 90-degree angle. And then I applied hot glue all around the outer edges of the dowels where they touch the bottom lid to keep them affixed to the lid. And that step is really what made the difference in keeping the dowels in place while I waited for the Fix-All to fully cure overnight. Okay, so it's the next day, and thankfully the Fix-All has fully cured and all 4 dowels are securely affixed to the bottom lid. I'm going to turn this lantern over to its side and place it onto the table. I'll also remove the top lid, which I chose not to glue down because it would be easier to embellish it first before securing it to the top of the lantern. I have a roll of this beautiful silver rhinestone trim that we will use to embellish the sides of each lid. This rhinestone trim is self-adhesive, so we won't have to mess with any more glue, and it can be easily cut to size. You can either cut a single row, or what I ended up doing is cutting out 2 rows. Then we're going to adhere the trim to the lid. The trim also has a bit of stretch to it, so it will be easy to apply around the corners of the lids, which are slightly curved. And once the top lid is done, I'll go ahead and do the exact same thing with the bottom lid. And by the way, you'll find a link to this beautiful trim along with all my favorite embellishments down in the description box. Okay, now with both lids embellished, I decided I wanted to give this lantern a bit more height. So I've turned this lantern upside down, and we're going to add some legs to the bottom lid using 4 silver ornament balls I have left over from the holidays. These ornament balls have a mirror-like finish and will match perfectly with the poles adorned on the lantern. Here I'm removing the little silver caps off from each ornament ball, and then we'll need to use a pair of scissors to cut the stems off each. You want to cut the stems down as flat as possible because that's the end we'll be gluing down to the lid. To affix the ornament balls to the lid, we'll apply a bit of hot glue and they'll instantly adhere to the lid. Now let's go ahead and turn this lantern right side up. There's one more detail we need to take care of. You'll recall earlier that I had to resort to applying hot glue to the ends of the wooden dowels to make the wooden dowels stay in place while we wait for the Fix-All to fully cure. Well, I'm not a fan of the small clumps that the hot glue has left, so we're going to cover those messy clumps up. And if you're familiar with my crafts, you'll likely know that I'll be wrapping the end of each dowel with a string of silver beads. If you guessed it correctly, comment down below with the words silver beads and let me know. But if you're not a fan of these beads, as I know some of you are not, leave me a suggestion of what you would use instead. In fact, I'm always open to your feedback, and some of you are really good at offering suggestions. And here's the final look for our Ferrero Rocher chocolate box candle holder lantern. I love how the placemat we used is double-sided, so you really get to see the beautiful silver metallic on the outside of the lid as well as the metallic gold on the inside of the lid. In fact, because the lids are see-through, we could have flipped the placemat so that the gold is on the outside and silver on the inside. What I really like about this piece is that I found a way to combine my love for both silver and gold into this candle holder lantern. And with that first candle done, let's continue with our next candle holder. This second candle holder will be very simple to make. All we need to do is take two of these Dollar Tree small silver metal frames and remove the glass and cardboard backing so that you're left with just the metal frame itself. Then we'll take one of the frames and apply some Fix-All to only two of the corners on the inside of the frame. Next, adhere the second frame to the first one. Make sure everything is lined up and then leave the frame overnight to allow the Fix-All to cure. Okay, so it's the next day and let's see what we have. The Fix-All has cured and look at that! You can open the two frames like a book. This is exactly what we want because what we're going to do is take the base from a plastic champagne glass I found at the Dollar Tree and insert it into the gap towards the bottom of the two frames. You can see here I'm fumbling a little bit with the two pieces as I try to figure out what position to lay the frames and base before securing them together with some hot glue. Now, with the two frames and base secured, I'm going to go back in and cover all the hot glue that is exposed around the gaps between the two frames and the base. Towards the stem of the base, I'll add a string of silver beads we used earlier. We'll secure the beads into place with more hot glue. So this is what we have so far. The entire piece has a mirror-like finish, which I love, but we really need to address the hot glue that is exposed inside the gaps between the two frames. So I've chosen this rhinestone and crystal trim. This one is just a little over a centimeter wide, so it will be the perfect width to apply to the two frames. The trim is also self-adhesive, so we won't need to mess with any more hot glue. Applying the trim is very easy and quick because the trim is flexible, so you can apply one single piece of the trim and it will wrap around the corners perfectly. With that said, our second candle holder is complete. Here's the final look for our silver picture frame candle holder. I have a little tea light placed inside the silver glass cup that I'll place onto the center of the candle holder we just made. And that's pretty much it. This piece is elegant and unique and only cost a few dollars to make. Let me know down in the comments which of the two candle holders we made today you like best. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel and share with other creative gems. Also, remember to hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I have another DIY glam project on my channel.